The King's Speech. The steam carriage deposited Jaden at the festival's entrance. From there he continued on foot, with a brisk stride he hoped did not appear hurried. The fanfare of horns announced the King's Speech was starting. The only people left to see him were the solitary shop vendors who had drawn the short straw, would have to watch their booths. All the rest had gathered in front of the stage. Jaden swore under his breath. He'd only just reached the periphery of the crowd when the trumpets sounded. If the king didn't kill him, his father would. People of Elementi, people of Mineral, I wish the tribes of the Animalian territories were here with us today, celebrating the moon of peace. King Dresden paused, looking across the crowd. 100 years ago, the king of Mineral spoke these same words as the twin moons of peace hung in the sky. The crowd erupted in unsettled murmurs and harsh whispers. Though Jaden had been aware of Dresden's connection with the old king, not many knew of it. It was common for every relative of a king to be murdered when a new one rose to power. King Dresden shook his head. He did not know what our countries were about to experience. It was the first time the tribes had not attended the Moon of Peace. The transformations of the lush, vibrant Animalian territories into the desperate, famine-stricken region we know now came as a shock. Jaden broke through the crowd and made his way to his assigned seat in the front row. His father leaned over. You must enjoy taking your life into your own hands. You will show our king your support at every meeting, every party, and every speech. You will hope he forgets that you did not bother yourself with coming on time to the most important speech of the century. Jaden nodded. He should have felt chastised, but he fought to keep the indignation off his face. What he did was important, maybe as important as his father's work, and dare even think it the king's work. His people laid down their lives to keep weapons out of the hands of their enemies, revealed traitors, and caught spies, but he could not tell a soul. Not one person could know what he did, or it would put everyone at risk. He would continue to play the part of the dutiful, if forgetful son of the Lord Ambassador. Dresden continued, unaware of Jaden's treacherous thoughts. We find ourselves engaged in a great war that has lasted far longer than any war should. It's the kind of war that tests the strengths, morals, and abilities of a country to persevere. We've endured countless horrors, but how long until we crumble under the enormous pressure? A murmur of agreement passed from Mineralite to Elementi. Dresden's speech riveted each one. Jaden could feel someone's eyes in the back of his head. He turned to meet their gaze. Of course, Sakar Vaughan. Jaden countered with a raised eyebrow, challenging him to do something about all that smugness. Sarah nudged him, and Sebastian turned back his attention to the speech. If we want peace, then we must kill this ugly monster known as war. There's no Elementi war, there's no Mineralite war, there's only a battle that must be fought by brave men and women. So enjoy your peace this evening. Tomorrow we make history. Dresden stepped down from the platform, followed by uproarious cheering. How many years had it been since the Mineralite king pursued peace instead of power? The idea that there might be a king who would be worthy of my trust and loyalty almost seems absurd, Jaden thought. Now Jaden understood what the rebellion meant when they said Dresden had the bearing of an exceptional leader. He had raised a vast army of people from all walks to topple the previous king with little more than his conviction and charisma. If the king followed through on his words, if he unites the countries, Zephyr, if he just unites Mineral, I'll use all my influence to ensure the long and fruitful reign. Do you think he meant all that? An Elementi highborn asked. Her dark and curly hair and tan skin meant she was northern or southern Elementi. Jaden didn't recognize her. Before he could answer, a weary Elementi soldier spoke. I would like to believe him. I would like this war to end. Sakar Castel Vivas harumphed. Wonder if the king speaks for the rest. The woman, then, must be Castiel's wife, Tia. As a matter of fact, he does, Grand Admiral Gunter replied with a touch of amusement. I haven't heard a speech like that in a long time. I think I forgot what it's like to have a good king. He makes me want to dust off the old suit of armor and charge into battle in pursuit of justice and all that. Jaden couldn't agree more. After everything that happened in the blacksmith inn, the speech encouraged him that maybe he wasn't the only one fighting to unite Mineral. He searched for Lady Josephine Ragos as the crowd dispersed. They had an understanding of sorts. She protected him from the eligible ladies and their power-hungry mothers, and he introduced her to the higher members of the court. Josephine waited in line to petition the king with as much patience as he would have in the same situation, which is to say, not much. Genetic alteration made Mineralites look alike, but somehow she stood out from the rest. She wore her dark hair down. Her gown was a vibrant dark blue. With an easy smile and a quick mind, Josephine could get under his skin if he let her. But I won't. His father's His father finished speaking to the king and made a beeline right for him. Jaden decided to skip his father's lecture. He spotted Sarah walking next to Sakar Vagan. He won't chastise me in front of his colleague's daughter. There was a good thing about having to make the move to the Ambassdorial halls. It was the fact that Sahara had befriended him. No one else offered him the same honest friendship without a few notes to persuade them. Sakar Vagan put a protective hand on her shoulder. Jaden fought the urge to roll his eyes. He bowed and flashed a fake smile. Taja, Sakar, it is good to see you. Running from another lecture from your father, Sarah offered a knowing smirk. You got me. Jaden put his hands up in surrender. People reacted well to King Dresden's speech. What did you think? Sebastian fidgeted with the copper hilt of his cane. To be completely honest, I want to know what makes him so enthusiastic about the alliance. It makes me wonder if he's found some loophole. Jaden wanted to reply that he didn't ask for his opinion. If we were talking about one of my previous rulers, I would agree with you, but there's something different about King Dresden. Oh? Sarah arched an eyebrow. The army that helped him take control was equal parts nobility and commoners, Jaden explained, but the Elementy Highborn simply didn't understand the significance. Okay, the last thing the nobles want is trouble with the working class. King Dresden has been in control for all of one moon and has already made vast improvements to the daily life of the general population, so they have to think thrice before assassinating him. Do you think he will force the lords to sign the alliance? Sarah asked. Jaden chuckled. Well, certain lords and ladies might need to be, persuaded to see things from a different point of view, but I don't think he would force everyone to sign the alliance. Sebastian glanced at his time stone. I wish I had time to argue with you, but I must be going. He planted a kiss on Sarah's cheek and left with a mischievous smile. Jaden coughed. He thought that was quite an overt display of affection for an Elementy. Sarah touched her cheek. Another woman would have blushed, but she just stood there, blinking. Jaden caught the eye of a mineralite enforcer and gestured for him to come forward. Keep the Taja safe while her fiancé is away. Jaden put 3 large notes into his hand. That should more than cover the inconvenience of the lost pay from abandoning his post. Oh, Nichole will watch over me. Sarah gestured towards her northern Elementy guardian. The mineralites will respect an enforcer at your side. Jaden would rather be overcautious than feel responsible for her kidnapping or something. I'm sure your guardian won't mind an extra pair of eyes, the enforcer added, eager to keep the extra notes. Sarah shrugged. If you insist. Glancing at the way Sebastian had left, Jaden asked, did he schedule a meeting in the middle of the Twin Moon Festival? He received a letter by special courier. Sarah lifted her chin, her arms crossed. Apparently, the meeting could not wait. The disappearance piqued Jaden's curiosity, but he didn't press the point. She had that look on her face, the same one that she had when her father had to leave an important business meeting on her birthday. Someone could do with some cheering up. He gave her his best cheeky grin. Just because you have to marry him doesn't mean you have to be the first to like him. Jaden, Sarah admonished, but the corners of her mouth betrayed her. Then thinking Sebastian, he pretended to look at a time stone on his wrist. 3 minutes late? I might as well plan my funeral. I might die from the shame. Sarah tried to cover her mouth to prevent a giggle from escaping. The enforcer made no such effort, chuckling at his terrible impression, no doubt. Jaden narrowed his eyes at the enforcer, crossing his arms and pouting. You, sir, have wronged me for some imagined slight, and instead of dealing with it like a man, I'm just going to glare at you all afternoon. Sarah laughed. Oh, you have no idea. Oh, but I do. Jaden surveyed the crowd for Lady Josephine once again. She was still standing in line to speak to the king. Lord Byron stood in front of her, talking the king's ear off. The king would tire of his inane chatter soon enough. I'm going to get a bite to eat while I wait for my date to speak with the king. May I accompany you? I'd rather not dine alone, Sarah replied, stealing a glance at the crowd. Jaden gestured for her to take the lead. Meat sizzled on an open grill, and chefs showed off their chopping skills to an appreciative and hungry crowd. Vendors called off order numbers. Fragrant spices mingled with fresh baked bread and smoked fish. Jaden's stomach growled with approval for everything, but he restrained himself to only 2 plates, filled with food. Much to his surprise, Sarah purchased a meal for the enforcer. They chose to seat at an outdoor banquet tables. The enforcer and Sarah's guardian took a seat with a few spaces away to allow them to speak freely. Jaden added a generous amount of sauce to his food before digging in. The meat melted in his mouth. He should have enjoyed the meat more than he had any in the last few moons, but the guilt and the death of his people turned it into ash in his mouth, and he almost couldn't swallow. If only he had noticed something was wrong, he could have gotten out with them without them laying their lives down for his. He replayed every moment of his encounter in his mind as he mindlessly ate, trying to pick up on something he missed the first time. Sarah stayed silent, staring in the direction Sebastian had left. Her wedding date is coming up rather soon, isn't it? I should tell Casper to purchase a wedding gift tomorrow. Jaden cleared his throat. You know, you can always find secrets when you go looking for them. I remember this one lady, Avari's shadow. She had a closet full of skeletons. Sometimes it's better to have plausible deniability than get yourself caught up in the thick of things. I don't want to spend my entire life apologizing for things I don't even understand. The fire in her eyes went out, and her shoulders drooped. There I go again, being selfish. This marriage isn't about me. Jaden frowned. I don't think a bride has ever said that in the history of our planet. What else could it be about? Sarah hesitated. It's about protecting my family and my people. Jaden gripped his utensil hard, a flash of anger washing over him. Is someone threatening your family? Sarah shook her head. It isn't like that. Sounds like that to me. I'm a woman. Sarah stirred her gravy. I wouldn't expect a mineralite to understand. Try me. I cannot inherit my father's title. I can only give it to my husband. Sarah stabbed her meat with her fork. If I don't marry Sebastian, my family will lose everything, and it'll be given to my uncle. You know, the one that hates mineralites? Ah. Jaden tried to keep his green vegetables from mixing with the sweet berry sauce on his meat, but the berries had touched most of them. He popped it in his mouth and regretted not trying it earlier. So, if you don't like Sebastian, why not just find somebody else? We tried. Sarah sighed. Ever since the court learned I didn't have elemental ability after my confirmation, the rumors have gone flying. Some question my legitimacy, other think I was adopted since my parents were only able to have me, and the rest won't risk ruining their pure bloodline since my children will likely share my lack of elemental control. Jaden winced. I sympathize with you, I really do. Some people just can't see past bloodlines. Now that my 22nd birthday is a few moons away, my eligibility to pass the title goes with it. You know, if anyone can tame him, it will be you. After all, you taught me a thing or two, so that has to count for something, right? Jaden didn't see another option except to offer her condolences. Please, forget I said anything. I'm just nervous, and I really want things to work out with Sebastian. I know he's really busy, and I shouldn't say things out of anger or frustration. Sarah stood to clear the table. Jaden searched for the crowd for Lady Josephine again. She still stood in line to speak to the king. She caught his glance and made an exasperated face. He offered her an encouraging thumbs up. I should pick something out for her. That's what everyone would expect me to do, like a little gold bracelet or a beaded hat. Jaden turned to Sahara. I promised my sisters I'd buy him a gift, but I don't have the faintest idea what they would like. Sarah toyed with the end of her shawl. Where's your companion, Lady Edith? She can help you shop for them. Jaden scratched the back of his neck. We stopped seeing each other last week. Sarah shook her head. Oh dear, already? We'll never settle down. Settle down? Never. Jaden laughed, a real laugh for a change, at the thought of how complicated his life would be if he got married. Not until someone blackmails me so brilliantly I won't have a choice but to marry them. Sarah wrinkled her nose. Oh, ha. The life of a bachelor appealed to him. No one could be kidnapped or used against him. No one knew him well enough to manipulate him into compromising his morals. So who's your new companion, then? Lady Josephine Ragos. Sarah made a noise of approval. Daughter of industry. I've heard she's the heir to the Ragos family fortune. And a marvelous dancer. More important than her fortune, since Lady Edith had left his toes sore after every dance. So, are you willing to help me find something special for my sisters and Lady Josephine? You know they'll hate me if I don't bring them something back. Sarah bit her lip. Well, I haven't found the perfect souvenir yet, so I guess it won't hurt. Where do you want to go first? Let's start there. Jaden pointed to a little antiques trinket shop. They dove into the shack and let their eyes adjust to the stark artificial light. Sarah checked the shelves for hidden treasures. I heard about the Mineralite nobles that were murdered just before the Moons of Peace. What happened there? Someone poisoned 3 nobles just yesterday. The king beheaded their tasters. He wasn't sure what had brought an unprovoked attack on the nobles friendly towards the Scarlet Society, but he had a feeling it had something to do with the smuggling ring. That sounds awful. Sarah's eyes widened. Jaden kept his voice low to avoid eavesdroppers. Their replacements are useless. Somebody will kill them with a moon or turn them into puppets for their agenda. I'm not sure which one to hope for, Sarah muttered under her breath. She picked up a little black notebook and flipped through the pages. Have the enforcers found any clues as to the identity of the poisoner? Well, the poison comes from the Antanian Elementary Republic. The sloppy mistake indicates an amateur, but not one so inexperienced as to leave any other clues or traces about his identity. Sarah stiffened. If anyone found out about this, it could be the end of the alliance. No. He said it with the confidence of a man who had personally seen to it, and this amateur will think hard before striking again. Sarah frowned. You've ensured the killer knows someone has covered his tracks. He's not going to make the same mistake of committing the same crime twice. It would be the same as revealing himself to the world. Well, I'm not so sure that it's a man, because poison is traditionally a woman's weapon. Jaden found a bottle of an expensive perfume, perfect for Lady Josephine. In mineral, perhaps, but in elementary, words are a woman's preferred weapon. They're the only untraceable weapon that can destroy someone's life. Elijah stepped into the compact space. Taja, Sahara, you're being followed. By a brown-haired man with a large nose and a scar above his left eye? Sarah asked as she plucked a red crystalline figurine of a fire dancer from the shelf. Yes, Taja. Elijah sounded surprised. Oh yeah, that's just Bailey. Sebastian hired him to follow me around and report on my activities. Elijah narrowed his eyes. Sakar Vaughan has been reporting on you. Yes, he's very protective. Sarah's lips formed taunt line. A hand-painted fan decorated with swirling designs caught Jaden's eye. Elise will love this. Now I just have to find something for Claudia and Roxanne. Sarah brought a little black notebook to the shopkeeper's counter. What can you tell me about this journal? The shopkeeper smiled. Yes, it's the journal of a great archaeologist. It isn't written in Animalian, Mineralite, the common tongue, or even Animalian. Jaden recognized the runes right away. Reminds me of the markings in my parents' journal from the walls of the ancient ruins. More than likely, this is just a forgery, a debts of any actual value. The shopkeeper took offense to his words. I say, you have a bit of a nerve. I assure you, it was very thorough in my questioning of the man who brought it in. He had other artifacts from the ancient ruins with him. Jaden feigned interest. Do you still have some of those artifacts? The shopkeeper scowled at his implication. I sold them hours ago. Before Jaden could tell Sarah not to waste her time with this obvious scam, she set the fire dancer on the counter. If you would throw in this figurine, I'll buy both for 30 shills. The shopkeeper thought it over. How about 40 shills? Sarah counted the rest of her money. Would you take 36? I didn't realize the food would cost so much. The shopkeeper laughed and accepted her bargain. Jaden paid for the perfume and the hand-painted fan. Do you have any idea what Claudia or Roxanne would like? Roxanne's been going on and on about wanting an elementy cloak. Sarah raised an eyebrow. I'm surprised you don't remember. Half the things they prattle on about are nonsense to me. Jaden shrugged. You honestly should pay more attention, but they talk so much and their opinions change like the weather. Sarah rolled her eyes and led the way to an elementy tent filled with dresses. After looking through a dizzying array of cuts and colors, Sarah pulled out a dark purple cloak with a copper trim. This is perfect. Jaden paid for the cloak and left. He spied Lady Josephine wandering through the crowd. Josephine, there you are. Finally spoke with the king? Yeah, only after the king told Lord Byron to move along. That man never stops talking. Josephine eyed the gifts in his hands. Jaden fumbled to hide hers from sight. Well, so much for surprises. Josephine laughed and glanced at Sarah. Aren't you going to introduce me? Jaden cleared his throat. Of course, Taja, this is Lady Josephine Ragos. Lady Josephine, this is the daughter of the elementy Taj, Taja Sarah Dial. Josephine curtsied. It is a pleasure to meet you. Congratulations on your engagement. Thank you. I'm pleased to make the acquaintance of a daughter of industry. Sarah offered a slight bow and pressed her hands together. I was just helping Jaden pick out gifts for his sisters. Perhaps you can help him find a gift for Claudia? I'd love to help. Josephine smiled. If I remember, she's the one who pestered me with questions about court fashion. With her lovely hair, you should get her one of those jeweled hairnets. Jaden offered Josephine his free arm. If you'll excuse us, Taja, we have to buy a gift to buy and sights to see. So I hope you guys enjoyed this chapter. I would love for you guys to sign up for my newsletter so that you can get notification of new chapters as they come out. I'm going to go ahead and drop a link. When you sign up for my newsletter, you also get access to 2 exclusive bonus short stories, The Assassin and Madman's Automatons. So I'm going to go ahead and share a link to that in the comments. Thank you guys for joining me either on the replay or live.